Salute, salute. Salute everyone. We are back doing the things we love doing. Grand Rising, man. Grand Rising. You know, my brain is a little bit weird. My brain sometimes does and takes me to places, you know, where into different mode in which, you know, I just rock and vibe with the flow, right? So sometimes ideas comes in your mind, and you know, I just try to like represent the idea physically. And I just woke up here. It's 4:35 on my side, so it's gonna be a slow start. But what you have on the screen right there is our evolution. What I mean by evolution is looking back, right, 50 years back. This is us in the purple line, right? Our generation now, today. And the generation that came before us is G minus 50. It can be G minus 75, right? Generation minus 50. And we are the G. And we have before them, we have G minus 100. Generation G minus 5 minus 5, right? Followed by G minus 150, right? Generation minus 150. Generation minus 200. Generation minus 250. And so on and so on. So this is an example of a model that I'm putting together, right? And what we have here, you see this little brain, right? You see this little brain, right? This is the symbol or the summary of the brain of every single generation, right? We know is in the order of million or billion of brain, but I basically symbolize all those billion of brains into one brain. What happened is when one generation go, right? Let's say generation minus 150 is already gone. Most of the people at G minus 150 are gone. Even G minus 100 are gone, right? So the flow of the energy is outward from the source. In the same way, when you drop a piece of stone in the water, you see the ripples, right? The ripples grow. The closer to the center, the stronger the ripple. And then it keeps growing, it keeps growing. The ripple keeps expanding, right? So this here is the generation, the flow of the generation. We are moving outward. That's why they're talking about the universe expansion. The universe is expanding, and it makes perfect sense, right? So this is the time, right? This is the time. The time is going by, and generation after our generation is going to be generation plus 50, right? G plus 50, G plus 100, G plus 200, and so on. It keeps growing. What is amazing here is when one generation leaves, they pass something down to the generation that will pick up and continue to move. Just look like an eternal ripple, right? It looks like an eternal ripples because A previous generation passed down the baton to the next one through reproduction. When we're reproducing, we are passing down our gene. The gene of the ancestors have been passed down generation after generation. So when this brain here ceases, right, to exist, what happens is it goes back, right, the opposite way. This is the time. This is the opposite of time. So here we have what we call the descending order of brain states. The descending order of brain state is from left to right. The ascending order of brain state is from right to left, right from the center to outward. When a brain ceases to be, right, and I got scientific data over here, right, so we are always speaking, you know, with a little bit of scientific data, as you already know it, right, and this is going to be making perfect sense, right. In a minute, let me rotate this thing here. Now, you might have seen this before, right? We went through this document a while ago, and this document just came back because, like I said, the more we're getting into some materials, right, because we spoke about something before, my brain is taking me back and allowing me to make the connection, right? Just as we have been making the connection yesterday on what is going down during the IFA session and why it perfectly makes sense scientifically. We got the data, we got the explanation locked in, right? So this is going to be definitely part of our manual, right? This is so powerful, and we got scientific data right there. Damn. Now, if looking at this source over here, right, and I can present the document. I have presented this document in early videos about 3 months, yeah, probably 3 months or 4 months ago, right? We went through this one when we were talking about the wave, the brain. So, origin of all the waves, right? So, how do I get here? Maybe I should explain that, right? I get there by, breaking, right, what is IFA, what IFA does, and how IFA manifests. We know the Babalawo during the session summon, right, certain nature spirit, specific nature spirit, has, they call him Eshu or Mila and Ifa, right, to assist or to be present during the session. Now, how can we make sense out of this? Because just to say it, right, it's easy to say it, and some brain are not going to process it, right, just like that, right? We have to be able to show the data. We have to be able to show how is that possible, right? And like I said, when we cannot answer a question, we move on. And along the way, something will pop in, allowing us to go back and make that connection, right? So I think here we have landed on major, super major thing. Now, in Ifa, Babalawo is drawing the signal. Yes, the Odu is the interpretation of the waveform or signal. Babalawo prints the test 1 here, test 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Clearly, we have a sine wave. We have what we call a sine wave. A sine wave has a true and a crest, right? You can call this the crest, the true, the crest, the true, and each crest and true are a byte. Now, we clearly have a signal written down by Babalawo. Now, for every signal, there is a vibrating source, right? For every signal, we must have a vibrating source because the signal cannot come out of nowhere. We must have a vibrating source in order, right, to have those bytes or those bits, right? We have a vibrating source, clearly. Babalawo is drawing it here. But where is it? Where is the vibrating source? So that's the question I was asking myself, right? Because I don't just want to say things, right? Even when I say things, guys, right? Even if people don't ask the question, I put myself in the shoe of the profane, of someone who doesn't know anything and who is trying to make things make sense, right? Those questions come in my mind as I'm speaking. So, right, I've been asking those questions myself, and there's a vibrating source. Clearly, if you have a sine wave or a waveform, you must have a vibrating source, the origin of that energy, because a sine wave is an energy. Amazingly, yesterday we broke down the slide on the brain. Amazingly, we got the scientific data here that will support and back up the claim. These whole waves are not only restricted to the brain. Clearly, the brain does have those waves, but that they easily diffuse out and form an interconnected wave network with our universe. This notion is accepted by neuroscientists and physicists, which is associated with consciousness. The brain is our connection to consciousness, the one consciousness, the source, the origin of all, right? Clearly. So we got the scientific data to back up the claim. In addition to that, when it comes to the type of wave, we have here what we call the infinite wavy energy for all waves. All waves combined in the mesh, what we call the spider network or the spider mesh, right? All waves around us through are forming an invisible network of waves. So all those waves are symbolized, right, in terms of this diagram over here, or this curve, right? So we have the infinite wavy energy for all waves in the universe. Wave superposition. This is just symbolic, right? Then we have what we call the finite wavy energy. EF, electrical field, dominant, but with very high frequency. An example of a finite wavy energy is the hyper gamma or lambda wave. Then we have the finite wavy energy. Electric field, dominant, with evoked response, right? Then we have the finite wavy energy. Electric field dominant, activated state. Electric field hides the quantum field. Alpha and beta waves is an example. We have the finite wavy energy. Electric field dominant, deep sleep. Yes, when you're sleeping, you are in a state, right, of death. You are in a state that mimic death, right? Deep sleep, meditation state, slow waves, delta and theta waves. Then we have the finite wavy energy, nearly similar to infinite wavy energy. It's similar to that. Look at that. This is the finite wavy energy, nearly similar to infinite wavy energy. This is the case of an unalive person. Brain waves. Did you know? Even the brain of someone who has been unalived is still active and basically reconnect to the quantum field. Quantum field is the invisible part of a wave form, of wave, a sine wave. It is an invisible flat line, right? That's why in hospital, when you look at the response signal of a heartbeat, it goes up and down. But when the person goes unalive, it looks like a straight line, right? It looks like a straight line. So this is an example of a brain wave of a person that's been unalive. Now, this is the direction, the order of direction of brain state, right? Electric field reverts to quantum field. The brain is electrical when it is alive and turns into quantum field when it is unalive, right? Quantum particles. Then it goes where? The opposite way, to the ascending order. The ascending order is the order that, right, we are growing into right now, right? This generation. So let's go back to this model. Let's go back to this model over here. Where is it? Right here. So this here, right, the time is going from the center outward. When a brainwave cease or stop, right, for some reason, then the signal tends to go where? To the infinite wavy energy. See that right here? It resembles the infinite wavy energy right there. And it goes in the opposite direction, meaning it goes back to the previous generation. To the previous generation, the consciousness of the previous ancestral realm before getting to the source. It takes the opposite route, right? And going back to the source, but in the process, right, it has to encounter the consciousness of the previous generation, the consciousness of my father, of my grandfather, of my great-grandfather are going to be met, are going to be encountered, heading towards the source. This is common sense. Looking at the diagram, looking at the order, right, and the evolution on the flow of the energy. Now, during a session, when Babalawo is conducting the session, every single brain of the people in the session can be resumed into two things: particles and wave. According to the text says it. The scientific text allow me to make this assertion, right? Not a claim, but it is a fact according to the scientific source. You see that? This idea came about after realizing that an atom or light can exist in two forms. Every single human being body is made of atom, and the atom behaves both as particles and wave. And the matter, what we call matter, is the weaving of quantum particles, right? That becomes physical matter. But that weaving process is using the wave principle to weave the quantum particles to make something visible. This is known as the duality of an atom of light. Yes, every single brain is composed of atom, and every single atom is dual, meaning it can behave and acts either as a particles or a wave. Right? In such a way, our brain can be viewed at the deepest level as either an ensemble of particles or a wavy brain. So every single brain in this diagram can be seen as an ensemble of particles or a wavy brain, right? We can symbolize each of these brain has a wavy brain, so we can show a sine wave or a sinusoid to represent the brain, and those sinusoid store the consciousness of the previous generation. See that? So when Babalawo is conducting the session, the brain of the patient is plugged in and permeating the whole spider, the whole universe. And the brain of the patient is both a particles and a wave, which is wired to the ancestral realm and all the way to the source. That's why Babalawo during the session, right, has to invoke the ancestor or the ancestral realm in the process, because in order to extract the information, right, from ether, right, there are criteria and prerequisite that needs to be fulfilled, right? And we're going to get exactly to what goes on before even the nuts are fixed, or the opele or the chain is strong, right? But here I want to focus on the energy flow, right? And you can see here, this resemble what? It resemble a form of the Bakongo or the Congo Dikenga, the flow of the energy, right there, right there. So our ancestor perfectly were making sense, and they are 100% on target right there, as if they were looking up and they were able to see what has done right by, or what was going on exactly, right? This is what we have over here, probably explained in a different way, because I started with our generation. Before our generation, there is a previous generation, and so on. Generation minus 50, generation minus 100, meaning 50 years ago, 100 years ago, 150 years ago, right? 200 years ago, 250 years ago, we had ancestors that have gone, right? They have left this realm, right? They have not, they did not cease to exist, but they are in a journey, right? They are in a journey. The same way in G plus 50 or G plus 100, we will have our turn to journey, right, in the descending order, going back to the source, but we will have to encounter the realm of the previous ancestor. That's why this braid here is called the Ori. What is the Ori? The Ori is our personal ancestral guardian. Yes, the Ori, the brain, is the seat of consciousness and is the representation of our personal ancestral guardian. This is the ancestral lineage right there since the beginning of time. If you are alive today, you carry a genetic material that has originated from the source, logically, right? So when Babalawo is conducting his session and he's tapping into the realm of the Vinda or the Orun to summon specific energy to manifest, right, into the present time, which we call destiny, right? Destiny is wired to every single brain. How do we know that? Well, by looking into the Yoruba metaphysical concept of the Ori. which we read yesterday. Amazing read. The Yoruba metaphysical concept of the Ori. See that? Our physical head, the cranium, right? Our personal Orisa, the seat of consciousness, destiny, human soul, and ancestral guardian angel. Our ancestors were right on target 100%. And we are going to put side by side this information in our manual, right? To show that they knew here what they were talking about. Because today we have scientific data to back up their claim. Without this, right, people were like, oh no, how can you prove that? Where are the data? Right? Now, you see the problem? We as black people have been indoctrinated so much that we are going to see information that comes from hundreds of thousands of research and compiling information based on experience of our ancestor. They would put it into a form of fable, myth, to be passed down generation after generation, and black people would be the first to brush it off. Who am I in just my generation now to contradict or to oppose a knowledge or a teaching from the ancestor? Before you do that, you must make sure you have all the elements, you have done all the research in order to brush off your tradition, your culture, your ancestral knowledge, because you started reading the Bible, or because you started going to the mosque, and because the Bible and the mosque tells you, right, to talk down on your ancestral tradition and culture, you're going to brush off and say, the Ori, metaphysical thing, the only way is Jesus. Someone is going to come and shout in your ear, don't worry about it. The only way is Jesus. With Jesus, you have everything. That's a lie. We have here the most scientific information built into our tradition and culture. Now, you guys know when I talk about this thing, right? We still have to be careful. We still have to keep some level of common sense, critical thinking, and discernment, because even our spirituality, unfortunately, has been infiltrated. So we have to be super vigilant, right, when looking into or practicing or doing anything. We have to be super vigilant, right? So we should not lose focus. But if you bring in common sense, critical thinking, and discernment into it, you will have the discernment to see that this is not us, this is us. But this is one like right there, it's from the invaders, right? One simple example is Kemet. People want to debunk or are debunking religion, right? Christianity, Islam, Judaism. That's very good. I do that as well. But when it comes to Kemet, we are locked into a system in which we tend to see everything in Kemet as fact. Though everything in Kemet is not fact, because we know the Hyksos, the Assyrians, the Greek, the Roman invaded Kemet. In the process of invading Kemet, they have changed the linguistic, the meaning of the glyph. They have changed the sound, the phonology of the Medjugorje. It's not the same as the phonology of the glyph found in Meroe, found in Kerma. So we have to be super vigilant when it comes to Kemet. Remember, one simple example is Shabaka. When Shabaka takes over the land, the ancestral land called Kemet in 715 BC, he rejected a certain set of information and teaching between the 7th dynasty all the way to the 24th dynasty, right? He went back to pick up names, concept, constructions, style, back all the way to that timeline, right? From pre-dynastic all the way to the 6th, and then from the 25th dynasty alone, because everything else has been tempered. So we have to be super vigilant. And there are a lot of books here, out here on Kemet that has been written between the gap of 7 dynasty to 24 dynasty. And people are using it, thinking it's coming from our ancestral realm. No, not all the information in Kemet is African spirituality. That's why we must have African spirituality on the side as a watchdog. Every single thing in Kemet, if our ancestor, right, our ancestor indeed set the stone in Kemet, they've been there, they started it. These clans that you see in sub-Saharan Africa, they've been there. So we should be able to trace back certain practices, right? Certain concept practices should be able to connect and trace back to African spirituality. And so far, we have been landing on quite a few, right? The Judgment Hall of Osiris is an African concept, but it has been reformulated in a different form. The Judgment Hall of Osiris is also the Bakongo Dikenga. Yes, if you break that down, and I broke this down a month ago, and we're gonna do it again. But and many other concepts, the concept of rebirth, the concept of reincarnation, right? Because Horus is Osiris reincarnated. You see that? They rephrase it differently. Now, going back here, when it comes to this session, ongoing session, the patient brain is permeating the whole universe, the whole cosmos. Knowing that the brain of the patient is a particle and a wave, it can be resumed into consciousness. And this consciousness is connected to the oneness, is connected to the one consciousness or the one field, right? In which we have the particles and we have the brain, which brain has limited consciousness. Yes, our brain has limited consciousness. And then here we have the waves, the particles. So this brain here is permeating the one consciousness, the all-knowing, right? And it's wired, or it's permeating the whole universe, the whole one consciousness. Every single brain or is permeating the whole one consciousness, the everything. So the destiny, it's sitting in the Ori, which is the same place, the human soul, the ancestral guardian angel, right? Sitting in the back of your brain. This is the ancestral guardian that is passed down generation after generation. And this is sitting in the back of your brain. This is your Ori Inu. This is called in Yoruba the Ori Inu. The Ori Inu is your inner self. And the Iponri is your higher self. The Iponri is your mirror image that resides at the center or with the one consciousness in Ita Orun. You see? So, looking back here, as time goes by, many generations comes to be. This personal ancestral guardian is wired and connected to the consciousness of the previous consciousness. The inner self, the Ori Inu, it's sitting in the back of the brain, which is wired to the consciousness of the previous generation, As one generation sees, before they cease, they have passed down the seed of life. And we, our generation, are going to pass down that seed of life. You see, you have a ripple, an infinite ripple right there. You have a ripple that seems to be infinite and which is growing outward, right? That's why you have the circle here. The circle that you see here are the ripples. And you see at the center we have the mound, right? The mound at the center. Or everything emerging from the center. And this here actually make perfect sense. Why? This is slide 6. Let's go get the Shabaka stone. Oh man. Oh, oh. I'm trying to make fun of the church people, man. They are in the church. But while they're doing that, the Muzungu is digging the gold and the diamond. When they're closing their eyes to pray, by the time they open their eyes, Muzungu is basically owning the land and they own the church. They live in the church. Muzungu live in the land. He's enjoying the weather, the river, the lakes, the water, and they are just locked into the church, praying all day, all week. Jesus is coming. But the only thing we know is the sun has been reborn every morning. The sun has been coming, right? Because they basically plagiarize the solar natural occurring phenomena of the sun has been attributed to the so-called Jesus. Now, let's look at Shabaka. I need my coffee, man. Now, guys, I'm so excited, man. The way I'm seeing things flowing. I want your brain, our brain, to get into this mode, man. I'm telling you, because we can spend time talking, debating. I hear a lot of people saying we need to do this, we need to do that. But I think at some point people are sick and tired to just hear we need to do this, we need to do this. But there's no plan being set up. I will truly appreciate y'all. You know, someone who wants change started to say within my own family, within my own circle, this is what I'm doing with the younger generation. I'm sharing information with them. I'm elevating their level of consciousness by sharing some information that would potentially put them in a higher position, right? We have to fight against indoctrination in our community. You may think, you know, it's not enough or it's too small, but at least we have to start doing things like that, right? We must and we have to do things like that, right? You may think it's not going to have an impact, but it will, trust me, right? You know, anyways, let's just go back here. Now, the Shabaka stone comes in my mind. And it perfectly makes sense. Damn. Right? And we read and we did a live on the Shabaka stone. Powerful message here. I don't want to get too much into this, right? Because it will basically be like, okay, because everything is not Kemet. Everything is not Kemet. No. People, everything is African spirituality, right? Kemet, right? Part of the information of Kemet is African spirituality, but not all of it. I'm sorry. The raw, the raw knowledge of African spirituality is not what went down in Kemet. It's what is still being practiced today in Africa. Ifa is one of them. The Bamana, right? The Mwiti, the Voodoo, and many other ancestral practice in Southern Africa, right? There are many of them. And that's where we need to go. We need to go and extract the information and put them together because they're all connected and they are all the same, whether it's from the south, from the east, from the west, and so on. You see that? Bam. This Shabaka stone perfectly makes sense right there. The expansion outward from the center. And according to the research we done, right, when we were reading the Shabaka stone, you might think this is the sun. No, we thought at first it was the sun. It's not the sun. It's the one consciousness. It's the source, the origin. And Shabaka call it Ptah. But anyway, let's just put this on the side, right? Let's put it on the side, right? You see how we cross-checking the information? By going through natural occurring phenomena. What is going on in the world right now? This is our generation. Generation minus 50. These people before us, right, they have left. But before they left, they passed down a gene into us. We are still wired to our ancestor through what? The Ori, the personal ancestral guardian called the Ori. M. Bravo. M. Bravo. Salute, 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 bro. Salute, salute, Grand Rising. I cannot hear you, bro. I need to go get my coffee. Oh, maybe my volume. Hello? Okay. Maybe you can unmute and mute. Yeah, I can hear you now.
Oh, Grand Rising, brother. I don't know what happened there. I didn't actually intend to join. I didn't intend to come up. I just heard your voice coming out my speakers. My apologies for that. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, my apologies for the disruption. I hope you're
Oh,
well.
no problem,
Tell
brother.
her.
No problem. No problem. All right. All right. All right. All right.
I'll let you continue, sir.
Okay. Okay, bro. So, now, during the IFA session, man, we are breaking this thing down in the way we have never done it before, right? And I think the past 3 videos that we've been doing are major, right? They are super major for what we're going to be doing because we got scientific data to back up, right, the Yoruba metaphysical concept of the Ori. We got it, right? We got it. Now, we learn about the Zingu and the Zingumuna, which is the scroll. The time is a scroll. Oh, man. The time is a scroll. What happened now has been unfolded from the future of yesterday, right? What happened now has been unfolded from what was future yesterday when we were doing our live, right? What is happening now is being unfolded, right? Is being unfolded from what was folded yesterday. You see that? This is the future. This is the past. And this is the present time. Maybe I should shift it here. Because our generation, right now, as we are speaking, we are in the present. What happened now, yesterday, was folded. What happened yesterday, today, now, as we are speaking, has been folded. The past present has been folded. And the time is going this way, this direction, from the center to outward, and is growing. Just like the water ripples. When you drop a stone in a surface of calm water, you have these ripples growing. So, during the session, Babalawo is tapping into the future in order to extract information that will be presented to him in form of a sine wave. When he's writing down the Odu is the translation of the signal, the vibrating signal, the crest and the true, right? These are the crest, true, crest, true. These crest and true are binary number, single stroke or double stroke, but they are forming a sine wave. And every single wave has a vibrating source or the origin. There is a source. And we have identified the source being wired to this cosmic spider net or oneness. I need this. I need that one, right? I need this one to be here. The oneness right here. We need this here. Oh, I already have it at the center. But we should have it here. The oneness. And maybe I can zoom in so we can see what I mean by the oneness. The one field or one consciousness is wired and connected to every single brain, because every single brain permeates the whole universe. So Babalawo is tapping into the future, synchronize or reach resonance with a vibrating signal, spreading or stretching outward. So Babalawo is going to pick up the signal, which is going to be translated in terms of this, right? So I need this, right? We can grab this one and put it here. Babalawo extract that signal, which will have binary number embedded onto it right there. Whether it is a single knot or a double knot, Babalawo will print a double stroke or a single stroke depending on the occasion. One knot left in the left hand is double stroke. Two knots left in the left hand is a single stroke, right? We got the map here. We started here. It was a little messy when Babalawo came up on the panel. We listened to what he was saying, and we came up with this scratch, right? This is a draft, right? That draft has been cleaned up a little bit, right? But I'm still trying to find a way to keep it messy. But anyways, right there. This looks a little better, right? This flow chart looks a little better. And this is the process called IPO, input processing output. And the output here is an 8-bit binary number. Uh-oh, The 8-bit binary number happened to be what computer science calls ASCII code. But our ancestor knew the language of communication with the ancestral realm. The oneness speaks in terms of binary, zeros and one, or single stroke, double stroke. So science in the Western paradigm is the artificial form of African spirituality. Let me say that again. Science in the Western paradigm is the artificial form of African spirituality, because science, real true science, is the study of the universe, the study of the plant, the study of the animal, the study of the soil, the study of the cosmos, right? Those are nature things being understood or being looked into in order to connect more and connect better with the environment. You have to know what the plant is, what the soil is, what is the air, right? Some people even start to venerate the soil, the air, right? Because they are connecting to those things. So through science is spirituality. I'm not speaking of science in the Western paradigm, because science in the Western paradigm is artificial. Everything has to become GMO, genetic modified organism. Everything has to be done artificially. Artificial sugar, artificial sweetener, everything artificial, right? And artificial sugar and artificial ingredient will only turn the people into artificial beings. Because what we call AI, artificial intelligence, the name itself already reveals what it is. Artificial intelligence is the artificial way on how IFA works, on how IFA function. So they basically transform IFA into an artificial intelligence, which led to what we call computer science. Because AI today cannot be done without computer science, but computer science is the artificial form of IFA, right? So in order to call yourself a spiritualist, right? Anybody who identify as spiritual, you must be a scientist. You cannot be a spiritual person without being a scientist, because science is the study of nature. Science, the goal of science is to understand the environment, the universe, the cosmos, the plants, nature, the soil, our environment. And in the process of practicing through science, you are basically a spiritual person. Whether or not you identify as spiritual or not, the fact that you are trying to understand what this plant is, why is nature like this, what is the air, by asking those questions and trying to find answer, you are practicing spirituality, because spirituality is the study of our environment. The more spiritual you are, the more connected you are to the source and to the ancestral realm. You become more and more connected to it, because it's true science, right? So I'm going to grab this symbol here. This symbol here is what we call an AC, right? AC source wave or symbol, right? And you see how it goes up and down? This is the symbol of an AC voltage source. We know how the DC voltage source look like. It look like a straight, right? So here we have an up and down. Look, look. Every single brain is dual. The brain behaves and acts like both a particles and a wave. Right there. Because the brain contains the atom. And every single atom behaves or acts at the same time, has a particle and a wave. This is the duality in the atom. So the atom does that. The photon also does that, right? The photon is the carrier of the sun electromagnetic radiation. The photon is also emitted from other star systems coming from the cosmos. Now, here, every single brain is a wavy brain. Yes, every single brain is a